if you're in a domestic violence situation, get away and make sure you contact the police.
He was probably 18. He said, Mom, I'm going to be a rapper.
He changed his name to Jug Money.
Every show we had, it was packed out. Everybody come see it.
We got reported that there were 2 gunshot victims that had arrived at the hospital.
I don't know anything. It's absolute chaos.
He has a lot of fans, so folks are flooding the parking lot.
The day of the incident, there was another shooting.
He wanted to go get some revenge.
I'll be ready. How about a car?
He looks very similar. The dreadlocks, the stature, all that matched.
Could this have been a case of mistaken identity?
Somebody's got to beef with somebody.
I don't know nothing about nothing.
The town of Anderson, South Carolina, sits in the northwest corner of the state.
It's very different than it was 10 years ago. And we had a much larger violent crime problem 10 years ago than we do now.
10 years ago, if we had one shooting, we were all on our toes because we knew another one was coming, whether it be a retaliation or what have you. If we had one, you're gonna have another.
Just before 10 p.m. on June 7, 2014, 911 operators get a call about a shooting in an area known as the Horseshoe.
The Horseshoe is a place down in the lower end of Anderson, the southern end. It comes in off of a side street, and they call it a horseshoe because it goes around and circles back to the initial road it came from. So deputies were already on the way to the Horseshoe, and then the hospital called us. We got reported that there were 2 gunshot victims that had arrived at the hospital.
I'm at the ER. 2 cars just pulled up with black males who were shot multiple times.
Have you asked someone where it happened at or anything?
I don't know anything. It's absolute chaos.
Is there 2 of them, you said?
There's 2 that are shot. There's about 16 people out here all just screaming and running around.
Anderson County Emergency Services.
We are combating some crowd out here. Could you send me some city officers here to back us up, please?
Officers are dispatched to both locations. As they arrive at the hospital, one of the victims is still in the car he arrived in. A nurse attempts to help him.
The car was shaking. The lady was in there trying to give him CPR, you know. My daddy had to actually help her get him out the car and put him on the stretcher.
From the crowd, the officers learn the man is a 20-year-old local celebrity.
Brandon Willingham was an aspiring rapper, pretty well known to that, at least the local rap community. He was known as Jug Money.
He has a lot of fans. He has lots of friends, lots of supporters. Everyone wants to know what's going on. They've heard about the shooting, so folks are flooding the parking lot.
The other victim, his friend, is already inside being treated for his injuries.
Rayshawn Cowan, he's the other guy who got shot. We call him Cujo.
Rayshawn Cowan has been hit 4 times in his right shoulder, his hip, his thigh, and his buttocks. His friend Brandon Willingham has been hit once. Brandon has been hit in his abdomen.
As doctors work on the victims, local media gets a hold of the story.
Before we got in there and sat down, the news people had reported that a guy had passed away from the shooting that happened on Southside.
They had already put it on the news and Facebook that one person was dead and one person was alive.
I saw Cujo's mom and them like over on the other waiting side. Me and her were both looking at each other because we knew somebody was dead. So we're looking at each other, I guess, really like hoping, which is bad to say, but hoping that I'm not gonna be the one.
Born on July 14, 1993, Brandon was the first child of April Summerall and Kelly Willingham.
The day Brandon was born is like one of the best days of my life because I had a son. And for me to sit there and witness that, because I ain't never seen nothing like that before in my life. And when I got holding my hand and looked at him, a whole lot changed. You know, I got a son. It's my son. He's named after me, Brandon Kelly Lamont Willingham. So I got me a junior named right after me.
Becoming a mom to Brandon, that day I learned what true love was when I looked into his eyes. It gave me a whole new meaning of life because of Brandon. I knew I had somebody to live for, and somebody was going to depend on me, and somebody to give me a life that was worth living.
Brandon was raised in Anderson with his sister, Brianna.
Me and my brother, Brandon, we're like twins. We're only 10 months apart, so anything he wanted to do, I wanted to do it. We were really close.
I wasn't in his life long because I went to prison. He was like 18 months when I went to jail.
My daddy got arrested when I was 4 months old. You know, he still sent Christmas gifts.
I used to talk to him and my dog. I used to talk to all of them when I was locked up.
By the time Brandon was in middle school, he had another sister, Bree Shanae. April had to spend long hours away working to support her 3 kids.
I was like a hard worker. I was a single mom for so many years until I met my husband. So when I finally met somebody who was willing to love them and me, that changed my whole life.
April and Jeremy married in 2007. Around that same time, Brandon started having trouble at school.
Brandon was such a class clown. He drew a picture of SpongeBob smoking a joint that called me at work. And so when I had to go to school, I was so pissed off at Brandon. I was like, I'm going to kill this child. And I mean, I was hot because my job was like an hour away. Then when I got there and they handed me the picture, I had to hold the laugh in because he could draw really well.
He's getting expelled, so he's going to alternative school. My mom was trying to discipline him. Now, mind you, me and my sister, we understood, we good.
I think he liked alternative school, though. I really do. He was in there for 3 years. I mean, he was like the little leader person.
In 2011, April and Jeremy welcomed twin boys.
He wasn't happy about them at first. When he found out I was having boys, I think it broke his heart because he was always my only son. But once they got here, he loved his brothers.
What his family didn't know is that Brandon had been quietly nursing a dream.
The whole music thing took me, I'll just be honest, completely by storm. One day he said, and at this point, he was probably 18, he said, Mom, I'm going to be a rapper. I said, really? I said, that's a good dream, but in the meantime, you need to get a job. And Brandon was like, no, Mom, I'm for real.
In 2012, Brandon got the chance to share his dream with his father.
When I was locked up, I did not know he could rap. I did 18 years, 9 months. When I got out of prison, he came pick me up.
Brandon threw himself into his music. He took his childhood nickname and turned it into a name he hoped would be known around the world.
Say you go to the store and you out there selling some apples, you jugging, you getting money. It's just a slang. He used to always jugging, trying to make a little $0.25 or something when he was little, and they just called him Jug Shoes.
He just changed his name to Jug Money. Everybody was calling him Jugging. It sounded good.
He was just full force on that music, and it all happened with him and the music. In a year's time, he was doing shows, and I mean booking shows week after week after week. One Battle of Atlanta, he made the deal with his promoter and his manager. He released that CD.
I was in college when he first started rapping, so I would just come home, hear the music, going back to college and make everybody else hear it.
To say that Jug Money was an up-and-coming artist is an understatement. I mean, he was really, really on his way. He was a big deal, and he was becoming an even bigger deal.
He wanted a lot for himself and his family. He said, Pop, what kind of car you want? I was messing with him. I want a Ferrari or something like that. He said, we're going to get it one day. And that's what he believed in, so I believed in him, and Anderson believed in him, too.
On June 7, 2014, a shooting lands Brandon and his friend Rayshawn in the emergency room at Anderson Medical Center.
News traveled very fast, so between the local newspaper, TV stations, Once the shooting occurred, folks knew about it. Facebook was blowing up because of who Brandon was.
Local media reports that one of the men has died.
You've got family members from both boys' families, Brandon, Rayshawn. They're both there at the hospital, tensely waiting.
I see the corner man come out, telling us to go in his room. I went straight out the door. I ain't going in no room. I already knew.
The tragic news was that Brandon Willingham had indeed passed away.
His blood pressure plummeted because he got hit in that main aorta.
Everybody had done part and got out the cars and kind of like swarmed the outside of the hospital like a big old memorial waiting. And so when I came out, I was screaming, who did this? And what, like, who did this? Who did this?
Kia has 10 hybrid, electric, and plug-in hybrid.
Detective Barton with the Anderson County Sheriff's Office arrives at the hospital where rapper Brandon Willingham, also known as Jug Money, has just succumbed to a gunshot wound to the abdomen.
There was a bunch of people at the hospital. There was a vehicle that was roped off that the victim arrived to the hospital in. The police were standing by, had that secure.
Brandon's friend was also shot, but survived.
Rayshawn Cowan has been hit 4 times in his right shoulder, his hip, his thigh, and his buttocks.
Him and Sean, they've been friends since they were kids. And Jug and Cujo, I call him Cujo, but they grew up together. You know what I'm saying? He been there. He was a good friend of Jug. Him and Jug were good friends.
I was able to interview him at the hospital. He was in a lot of pain. He was wanting to get his pain meds, but I also needed to speak with him while he had a somewhat of a clear mind. Tell me what happened.
Oh, we were just standing out there talking about my homeboy. We were just talking about him happy.
They were there to shoot a rap video the next day. They were wanting to, get a lay of the land and see where they were going to put different props at and all this stuff. So they were in a deep conversation with each other. And he said a car pulls around the horseshoe, comes up to where they're at, and immediately gunshots start sounding off.
Who started shooting?
I can say some car came from the bottom of the road.
What did the car look like?
A great car. I can't see no kind of car.
Small car, big car?
Small.
Gray small car?
Yes,
Did you recognize anybody in it?
sir.
Jug Money? Does he got beef with anybody?
No, sir. You local rap.
Okay, any idea who shot you?
No, sir, not whatsoever.
Somebody's got a beef with somebody.
Yeah, I can say that. Yes, sir, I know they do.
I think he was being honest with me. He didn't know who the shooters were.
Investigators learned that a third man drove Brandon and Rayshawn to the hospital.
I spoke with the police officers that were on scene there about the vehicle, got all that settled about, having the vehicle towed and all that. Got a name of the driver who drove them to the hospital, who was no longer on scene. He had apparently drove them to the hospital and left on foot. But I did get a phone number for him, so I was able to call him. He didn't have a whole lot of information either, didn't know who these folks were that shot at him.
Following the interview, Detective Barton heads to the crime scene.
So as I'm pulling up, obviously there's a lot of cops out there. The scene's secured, it's blocked off, crime scene tape everywhere. So I get out and I got another detective on scene. He gives me a rundown of what he's got, and there's shell casings in the roadway, there's blood.
We recovered 4 9mm shell casings. So we knew we were looking for a 9mm gun. Most of the people who were there, from my understanding, what I was told when I arrived, either left or maybe they were in a house and not willing to come out.
There was a gentleman that was willing to talk with us on scene that gave us information.
Orlandis Hamilton was the only one who stuck around to talk to us. He was there when it happened, and that him and Brandon Willingham seemed to have a close relationship. He was upset about it, and I thought he was genuine in wanting to help.
He said he saw a silver car. He said that there were 3 gentlemen, 3 black males in the vehicle, and he said that one of them in the front seat passenger was hanging a gun out the window and shooting as they were coming down Oliver Street.
He did not recognize or did not know who they were. He said they all had their hats pulled over their faces.
Aside from a vague description of the car, investigators leave the scene with no leads. They consider whether Brandon and Rayshawn were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
There's a lot of drugs run down there, so, you know, when the shooting first came out, that was the first thing that popped in my mind was a typical drive-by. We've had many a drive-by down there.
Or did Brandon's simmering fame have something to do with his death?
Did a business deal go bad? Did he treat somebody wrong?
In the rap world, beefs arise, you know, they do diss tracks on each other, and then people get mad about that. You know, we really had to look and see if he had any other problems with another rapper, local or otherwise. You know, Atlanta's not that far from here, so we've had times where people come up from Atlanta and do drive-by shootings here. So that was something we had to explore. All these things are possibilities.
As investigators in Anderson, South Carolina dig into a double shooting that left 1 man dead, they take a closer look at the victim, Brandon Jug Money Willingham.
We have to keep an open mind about all the possibilities of why this specific person was killed. We usually do a deep dive into that person. We call it victimology. He was known as Jug Money. My understanding is he was getting pretty close to making it big. And so that was, of course, something that we had to look into.
Brandon was a well-known rapper in the area. It could be someone he had a beef with.
Brandon's family insists he had no enemies.
He did not have no beef with people, not that I know of. I never seen him out fight nowhere, fight somebody called him, come on, fight, want to fight. Nah, I never seen him do that. He stayed in the studio too much.
In fact, they say Brandon was a role model to those who were on the wrong side of the law.
He opened up doors and let them know, like, you can make it, especially when it comes to doing something other than illegal stuff, fighting, gang banging, drugs, anything like that.
Investigators find nothing in Brandon's life that points to a suspect. So they take a different approach.
The day of the incident that Brandon Willingham was killed, earlier in that day, there was another shooting that happened nearby at a gas station.
It was a rough gas station. I mean, I've probably made 30 arrests there myself.
We started digging into that one to see if it may be related to this one, because typically these shootings all intertwine somehow. During that investigation, we determined that there was a subject who checked into the hospital from a gunshot wound that morning. The name that checked in was Rores Patterson.
But when detectives check security video from the gas station, they recognize the victim as someone else.
The person who checked in was not Rores Patterson. We were able to pull video and see that, and we determined that the person that checked in was actually Rores' brother, Anthony Patterson, who goes by the street name of D. So that starts throwing up red flags. Why is, Rores, name being used, but it's not Rores.
A little digging gives them an answer.
We determined Anthony had a warrant on him, and he was concerned they were going to call the cops to the hospital. So that's why he used his brother's name, his brother being Rores Patterson.
No arrests had been made, but word on the street was that the shooting was the result of beef between Anthony and another man.
He goes by the street name Hitman. He's well known to us. They had gotten into an altercation. And Anthony was shot by Hitman. That case was never reported because Anthony doesn't want to report anything to the cops. And obviously, Hitman's not going to report it. We have not approached Anthony or anybody because we didn't have anything other than just words on the streets, and obviously we want some kind of evidence. I only got one shot to interview him, so I want to make sure I got my ducks in a row when I do.
But investigators don't see an obvious link between the gas station shooting and Brandon's death. In the meantime, the tip line has been ringing off the hook.
So with this being a local rapper and the following he had, you know, there's obviously a lot of people knew about this, and so as any crime, you're getting a lot of tips. So we had tips come in that we were immediately able to say, no, that's not the case, and it was easy to disprove it. You had other tips come in with very limited information that you couldn't even act on. Each tip that came in, we looked at and was able to determine that was not our person.
Then, 2 days after the shooting, a tip comes in from Brandon's father.
He was telling us that he had met with a subject by the name of David Bennett, and that David Bennett had information on the case and claimed that he was present when it happened.
I did an interview with him. It was brief. He was still obviously very upset about his son's death, but he wanted to pass along this information.
Kelly tells Detective Hill about his conversation with David.
They met at a little rundown restaurant where David proceeded to tell him all the details.
He told me everything that happened. Say the boy, his brother had got shot or something. So he wanted to go get some revenge.
The shooter was identified as Roy Rez Patterson. He thought he was seeking payback for someone that shot his brother earlier the same day.
David was in the back seat of the car, and that Rorez was the shooter, and there was another subject driving the car.
Dude reached out the window and said he ain't even look, just reached out the window and started shooting. He didn't even look at nobody, just started shooting out the window. Shot my son one time, shot Cujo 4 times.
My next big thing was I got to find David.
We found his last known address in our system, and we went to that house. It turns out that was his grandparents' house. Nobody knew where David Bennett was. Wouldn't give us any information. I felt like he was being a little, I felt like Mr. Bennett's grandfather was withholding some information. I thought he knew more than he was telling us.
David Bennett works at McDonald's, so I go to McDonald's. David hadn't shown up for work all week, which is not uncommon. You know, when you're involved in a shooting, you're concerned about retaliation, so you try to lay low.
The next day, Detective Barton gets a phone call.
I was driving down the road when he called me, and I couldn't believe it, because we never get calls like this. So I pulled over on the side of the road, and he and I talked for a little while, and he told me that he was in New York. He wouldn't come back. He said he's, concerned with retaliation. He's not coming back to Anderson, but he did agree to meet with me if I could fly to New York.
South Carolina detectives get their first big break in the killing of rapper Jug Money when witness David Bennett agrees to talk to them. 2 investigators fly to New York, where they interview 24-year-old David Bennett in a hotel room.
It's really unorthodox to do anything like that, but he didn't want to meet me at the police station. He's fearing he's going to jail. I'm not there to lock him up. I'm there to try to get information.
All right, thank you. All right, we're recording right there on video, and I'm recording right here on the audio recording. All right, my man. First off, like I said, right there, and I appreciate you coming up, talking with me. You here on your own free will, right? I told you you wasn't under arrest or nothing like that. When we get down here, you leaving, and we going a different way, right? Obviously we're working on the murder that happened down in Anderson County, correct? Yeah. All right, and if you don't want to talk to me, you ain't got to talk to me, sure. It's up to you, all right? I'm just going to get this call. Okay.
David tells the detective that he was at a party with his friend Terrence West the night Brandon was shot.
David and Terrence are just friends. Terrence is actually Royres's uncle.
My brothers and his brother D was over there. They was drinking, playing cards, whatever.
Roy Rez and his brother were discussing the shooting that happened earlier that day when Anthony took a bullet in the leg.
They was fighting at the store, and Hitman pulled his gun out and shot him.
So when they're at the party, David wants to go buy drugs. So he and Terrence are going to go buy drugs.
It was going on 11 o'clock, and she was like, man, let's go get some more weed real quick.
As they get to the car, Royres is already at the car and jumps in.
They piled into Terrence's car, a silver Mitsubishi Mirage. David got in the back seat.
When they pull onto the horseshoe, they come around to the other end, and as they're approaching the end, there's 4 or 5 guys on the street corner.
I'll get ready to hop out the car and ask somebody for the weed.
Royres Patterson just opened up fire, and then Royres said, drive, drive, drive.
David says he doesn't know what's happening. He jumps back in the car, and Royres is telling Terrence to go.
He told me, gee, we ain't seen nothing, we don't know nothing.
Did he say why he shot at him?
He said, wow.
What did you think it was?
I thought it was over his brother getting shot, but like I said, I don't even know why.
When they got back to the party, Roy Rez approached his brother.
He told him, I got the man that shot you. He jumping around, I got him, dog.
But based on what investigators know, it was Hitman who shot Anthony, not Brandon.
He looks very similar to Brandon. The dreadlocks, the stature, all that matched. Especially you're driving through at night. It's not a well-lit area.
Could this have been a case of mistaken identity? Is it the case that Roy Rez Patterson was seeking payback for the person he thought shot his brother?
David Bennett says he and Terrence immediately leave. They go back to Terrence's apartment and hang out all night long, watching the news for what's going on, and that's when they start realizing someone was killed.
Police put together a photo array.
So we're on the phone back with detectives in Anderson, trying to get lineups emailed to me. Once we get those, I show them to him. He picks out Royres Patterson as who he only really knew by Royres. And D, he picks out Anthony Patterson, and he only knew him by D, as Royres's brother. And then he also picked out a photo lineup of Terrence West, who the driver was. The first thing I want to do is find Terrence West. So I want to find Royres too, but Royres being the shooter, I want to save him for last because I want everything I can get before I get to Royres.
When they get back to South Carolina, detectives find that rumors of Roy Rez's involvement have arrived ahead of them. Tension is at a boiling point.
People who knew Brandon Willingham, these people cared about him. They really wanted payback for what happened to Brandon.
The retaliation culture around here is serious. I mean, the people really stand on business when it comes to the people that they love.
Someone shot up the home where Roy Rez and his brother had been on the night of the shooting.
There had been a barbecue going on out there. Somebody easily could have been killed. This is a dangerous, dangerous situation. Not long after that, Royres's vehicle at his girlfriend's house was set on fire.
So we saw this uptick in violence of people trying to flush out the killer.
But Roy Rez is staying out of sight.
So I had probable cause to sign warrants. I've already been to Royres's house at East Market Street. Nobody's coming to the door for me over there. Terrence West, on the other hand, needs a job, so he went on to work. We located Terrence at the manufacturing facility. We told him he was under arrest. I transport Terrence myself back to the office. We have an interview room set up where I wanted to take him in there and speak with him. I read him his Miranda rights, and then I just asked him what happened. He told me the story. The story he gave was almost to the detail of what David Bennett's story was.
Police charged Terrence West with accessory after the fact of murder and attempted murder.
His actions after the shooting is what got him charged. He had multiple opportunities to step forward and tell us what happened.
The same day that Terrence is arrested, also the day of Brandon's funeral, Roy Rez Patterson turns himself in.
Roy Rez apparently can't take the heat. He was seeking payback for who he thought shot his brother, but the streets and the fans of Brandon were also seeking their own payback.
So he contacted our warrants guy, said, you know, I know I got warrants on me, I'll turn myself in. So he was there that afternoon.
7 days after the death of Brandon Willingham, investigators finally interview his alleged killer, Roy Rez Patterson.
I brought him to the office, the same as any other suspect. You know, I try to build a rapport with him, go back and forth. I Mirandize him, and we start talking about this case. And from the beginning of that interview, I knew that he was not fixing to confess to this crime.
I know what happened. I've already had several people tell me, witnesses, people that were there, people that were in the car with you. Yeah. So
I don't know nothing about nothing.
Lying to me will do you no good.
I ain't lying about nothing.
He leaned back and smiled at me and said, "You got the wrong guy." When you have an attitude like that, it's going to be hard to get a confession.
Roy Rez says he never left the party that night.
Well, what about when you and David and Key were riding that night?
I didn't get a car key.
Well, why are both of them saying you did?
I didn't get a car key.
Okay.
Right.
Do you own any guns?
No, sir.
So that's the story you're sticking with?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Patterson had several days to get rid of the gun, so of course he wouldn't tell us where the gun is. And, you know, looking for a gun, especially here in the South, that's a needle in the haystack.
He claimed that we had the wrong person, and throughout the entire interview just sat and smiled at me.
You can sit there smiling all you want.
I got this crazy.
But when we go to court and the judge reads out murder, I want you to smile again, okay?
I ain't smiling while I'm murder.
Smiling.
I ain't smiling while I'm no murder, because I didn't murder nobody.
Well, you got a murder charge.
I didn't murder nobody.
So you can get right with it, or you can sit there with a smile on your face saying you didn't do it.
It's my word against your word. I didn't do no shit.
You can stick to that story, but every dude out there knows you did it.
Yeah, that's how the streets talk. The streets gonna talk like that, but I'm a working man.
He kept saying that he was a working man, that I got the wrong guy.
I didn't shot and kill nobody. I work for it. I got a family.
I understand you work.
Yeah, I work, and I don't bother nobody.
But that don't mean you wasn't out Saturday night in that car.
But it was funny, he hadn't been to work all week, and he's not sick. So, you know, there were some pieces of his story that he told me that we could prove that he was lying.
And I got two witnesses that were in the car with you. So
I got my witness.
Who?
My family, where I was at.
He gave me names of folks that were at his party who could vouch for him to say he didn't leave all night long. So now we have to start finding those people, because if there is someone who can vouch that he was there all night long, then I've got the wrong guy, and that's the last thing I want, is the wrong guy. As much as I want justice for the family, I definitely don't want to arrest the wrong guy.
Your uncle says you did.
I didn't do it.
Okay. Like
That's my word against his word.
I got two people's word that were there, so that he was the one shooting.
We charged Roy Rez Patterson with murder and attempted murder for the attempted murder of Rayshawn Cowan and the murder of Brandon Willingham.
Following the arrest, investigators follow up on Roy Rez's alibi by talking to the party's host.
So when he gives me these names, I start going around interviewing. Several of the names he gave me, one of them, the guy wasn't even in town. Said he was in the military in North Carolina, so it wasn't even there. Another guy says, yeah, I was there, but I didn't come till after their house had been shot up, so I was not at the barbecue. Don't know if he left or not. Another name was his sister. I asked her, were you there with them all night? And she admitted, well, there was a time they could have left that I don't know about it. That right there is enough that she cannot be a good witness for Roy Rez if she can't physically say, I saw him all night long. Nobody could vouch for him all night long at being at that house. Anything he gave me, we were able to tear it apart.
Both David Bennett and Terrence West agreed to testify against Roy Rez at trial.
how many uncles are gonna try to convict their own nephew? So I thought that was really good. Their stories are pretty doggone similar. So I thought it was a decent case in that aspect.
But will it be enough?
We didn't have any physical evidence tying Roy S. Patterson to this case, to this murder. We had 2 witness statements, and that was it.
On April 25th, 2016, nearly 2 years after the shootings of Brandon Willingham and Rayshawn Cowan, Roy Rez Patterson goes on trial for murder and attempted murder. Brandon's family watches in court.
All I could see was an ugly monster sitting there. I cannot believe this ugly human took my beautiful child, who has so much going for him.
Everybody was so confused. We don't even know him, the guy who killed him, Roy Rez. We don't even know you to even see why you would even have a problem with a 20-year-old rapper.
According to the state, the motive is revenge. But the real tragedy is that Roy Rez killed the wrong man.
Unfortunately, Brandon was in the wrong place at the wrong time that night, there for a legitimate purpose, scouting for a music video. And it just happened to be when this group of guys rolled through. Roy S. Patterson saw Brandon Willingham, thought it was Hitman. It was dark, not a well-lit area. They looked very similar, and that's when he opened fire. I think his emotions took over. He saw the guy who shot his brother in his mind, and he was going to get him back.
Carlandis Hamilton takes the stand and describes the heartbreaking minutes after the shooting took place as he tried to help Brandon.
Carlandis was the one holding him when blood was coming out of his mouth, and he said he was slapping Brandon in the face, telling him, stay with, don't leave.
He explained, like, the sounds my brother were making, like, basically saying that my brother died right then and there.
Carlandis gives a description of the car from which the shots were fired.
Carlandis Hamilton had described the silver boxy kind of SUV. It was a Mitsubishi SUV.
He reported seeing a silver box-type vehicle drive around the horseshoe just before the shots rang out and then speed away. We determined that Terrence West was driving a silver Mitsubishi Mirage, which is a box-type vehicle, and it belonged to his girlfriend.
His testimony backs up accounts from the prosecution's 2 star witnesses.
We watched Terrence West get on the stand. David Bennett came back to South Carolina, took the stand, gave his version of the events.
They told almost the same exact story, and they both admitted to being in the car when this happened. Terrence is Roy Rez's uncle, so when your family's testifying against you, it kind of adds a little bit of credibility to that because people expect families to cover for each other.
Roy Rez does not take the stand.
The defense was we had the wrong guy, that his client was nowhere involved.
In Roy Rez's defense, his attorney argued that in the car that the drive-by shooting took place, there were 16 fingerprints found, and none of them matched Roy Rez. And also, police never recovered a murder weapon. None was ever found.
After 3 days of trial, both sides rest.
And in the end, the jury found him guilty.
He has to do 35 years, day by day, no parole, no probation. Yeah, it's straight time.
They should have gave him life without parole. You took my son's life. You should not have another chance to come out either.
The people killed my brother. I don't forgive them for what they did. I probably never will, but in my heart, I don't just hate these people. God got me just like God gonna have y'all and deal with y'all in his own way.
Brandon's fans still mourn the loss, and for his family, the pain cuts just as deep today as it did when Brandon died.
I miss him, and excuse me if I'm about to cry, but yeah, they did something to me. It really did. It crushed me. That's my only boy. And for him to do that to my son, and when my son ain't do nothing to nobody, to harm nobody, I don't think he cared about him making music. And that crushed me. I just wish he could have lived a little longer to see where his potential would have took him.
He was more than a son. Brandon was my friend. He was like my best friend. I'm so glad God gave me 20 years with him. He could have gave me none, so at least I got 20.
With the law, he was determined to turn his life around.
The first thing he wanted to do was make things right with his family.
He wants to do whatever he can do to get that old life back.
But before he can correct course, gunshots ring out.
The victim had 2 gunshot wounds, one in the hip, one in the head.
This appeared to be a cold-blooded execution.
Did a long-buried feud float back to the surface?
He's just gotten out of state prison.
Maybe he had an enemy. Maybe he owed something to somebody.
Or was he betrayed by someone closer to home?
She's seeing another man.
I said to him, please don't shoot him.
He had recently gotten to some money, $41,000 to be exact.
They put the pieces together. They planned it perfectly.
But is that enough to get away with murder?
There were a lot of holes in the story.
He put the gun to my head and he said, get the out of my way.
They're pointing the fingers at one another. So who, if anyone, is telling the truth?
Wait. What do you want?
The Empire State's capital city is a place where old-world charm blends with modern, trendy vibes.
When you think of New York, you think of the Big Apple, you think of New York City. But when you go a little further north, you find out about upstate New York. Albany is New York's oldest city, and the people here are loving. It's all about family here. It's a hidden gem.
People know each other. There are beautiful parks. It's pretty much a safe place to live.
But after night falls, Albany's peace is rattled when gunfire breaks out on the city's south end.
Around 11 p.m. that night, the police received a string of 911 calls stating that there were shots fired at an apartment complex.
When officers arrive on the scene, they see a young black male lying in a pool of blood in the parking lot of the apartment complex.
As first responders rush to his aid, they realize the man has been shot multiple times.
It looks like he's been hit at least twice, once in the hip and once in the head.
His breathing is very faint and he is unconscious, but somehow he's still alive.
First responders immediately started applying first aid, trying to save this man's life.
In the process, they discover who the victim is.
Here you go, officer.
They were able to identify him as 32-year-old Tyrone McCoy.
They were focused on everything that they could to try to keep Tyrone alive.
New York native Tyrone McCoy was determined to soar above his humble beginnings.
Tyrone was the eldest of 4 children who grew up in a low-income home in Albany.
Tyrone had a beautiful personality, a bright smile. He was a magnet for all of those around him.
Because he grew up in poverty, Tyrone started to explore other options of success so that he could be a great example for his siblings and make his family proud.
He could have easily been discouraged, so the fact that he was able to still be determined and wanted to, still focus on bettering himself says a lot about his character.
As Tyrone was starting a new chapter in his life, there was a glimmer of hope for him.
Tyrone met a woman from his hometown named Tamara.
The moment they first met, he thought she was beautiful, that she was funny.
He was immediately wowed by her beauty, her intelligence, and the two just hit it off.
You got kids or something?
Nah, maybe one day. What about you?
I've got 2, but their dad isn't around. They talked for hours, and the conversation just flowed like they'd known each other forever.
Well, you want to get out of here?
Sure.
Before he knew it, Tyrone was falling in love.
It didn't take long at all for Tyrone to fall hard for Tamara. They were inseparable. He would do anything for her.
They end up getting together, getting married, and they have a child on their own.
For Tyrone, this was the life he always dreamed of.
But unfortunately, Tyrone's desire to provide for his family got him into some trouble.
Unfortunately, he gets involved in some criminal action.
Tyrone was arrested for robbery in 1997. He was sentenced for 3 years.
He was released in 2000, and he decided that was the moment he was going to make a 180 on his life and get back on track.
However, Tyrone eventually fell off course again.
While Tyrone and Tamara were building a life together, Tyrone was arrested yet again for drug charges.
Unfortunately, this time it's a much longer sentence, a 24-year sentence, as opposed to the 3-year stint he had done earlier.
Behind bars for a second time, Tyrone was consumed by guilt for the position he put his family in.
It must have been gut-wrenching to just kind of have to give it all up and to know that he wouldn't be able to provide for his family like he had wanted to.
However, Tyrone was determined to make things right.
So he became a model prisoner.
He stayed out of trouble. He did everything that he could.
And eventually, his good behavior paid off.
Instead of serving the entire 24 years, he ends up getting out in February of 2007.
Tyrone? And the first thing he wanted to do was make things right with his family.
Can we talk?
Sure.
But from Tamara's point of view, it wasn't so simple.
What's wrong?
I'm not sure about this, Tyrone.
4 years had gone by. She decided to move on with her life, and she was quite unsure if she wanted to open those old wounds with letting Tyrone back into her life.
Look, please, give me another chance. I promise I'll never do this to you again.
I don't know, Tyrone. I need some time to think.
Okay. Take your time. I'll be waiting.
He wants to do whatever he can do to get that old life back.
In an attempt to win Tamara back, Tyrone would take Tamara out on dates. He would buy her expensive gifts.
He was determined to put his family back together. He was willing to do whatever it took.
As far as he was concerned, there was nothing that could stand between him and Tamara.
But now, instead of winning back the love of his life, Tyrone McCoy has been found shot outside an apartment complex in South Albany.
When the first responders arrived on the scene, they immediately tried to administer first aid.
And as they're helping him, his breathing is shallow. It looks like he's been hit at least twice.
The paramedics do everything they can to save Tyrone's life, but it isn't enough.
He's gone.
The gunshot wounds to Tyrone's head were too severe.
He ended up dying on the scene.
When homicide detectives arrive to sift through the evidence, one question is at the front of their minds.
Who could have done this and why?
Tyrone McCoy has a criminal record. He's just gotten out of state prison.
Could someone from Tyrone's past have come back to settle a score with him?
After getting released from prison in 2007, 32-year-old Tyrone McCoy was trying to put his life back together.
Tyrone was ready to turn over a new leaf and begin the life he felt he deserved.
He really vowed to turn his life around.
He is making his effort to try to win back his wife.
But now, instead of reuniting with his family, Tyrone has been taken from them forever after being gunned down at an apartment complex in South Albany.
The question is immediately, who did this? Who shot Tyrone?
Based on Tyrone's background, one possibility has already occurred to the investigators.
Tyrone McCoy has a criminal record. He's just gotten out of state prison.
Right off the bat, police are wondering, could someone from Tyrone's past have come back to settle a score with him?
Maybe he had an enemy. Maybe he owed something to somebody.
Regardless, one thing's for certain. Tyrone didn't go down easy.
The victim had 2 gunshot wounds, one in the hip, one in the head. We've determined that he was likely running, as would be his killer. So the first wound was likely the hip, which put him down.
The theory is supported by a trail of blood leading through the parking lot.
It strongly suggests that he saw his killer and he tried to get away from him. And the shooter or killer pursued him.
After chasing down his victim and wounding him, it looks like the killer stood over him and fired a final shot to his head.
This wasn't a crime of opportunity. This was someone who was intentionally going after Tyrone.
This appeared to be a cold-blooded execution.
Near Tyrone's body, detectives locate a couple more key pieces of evidence.
As police are investigating, near the body, they find Tyrone's cell phone, and they also find several .357 shell casings that they believe belong to the murder weapon.
They bag them up and send them off to ballistics for testing.
But other than that, detectives are at a loss.
The crime scene didn't offer any clues as to who would want Tyrone dead. So the officers decide to canvass the area and see if anybody witnessed this occurrence.
As officers start going door to door, it's not long before they run into a woman who says she saw everything from her apartment window.
She was one of the individuals who called 911.
Yeah, it was around 11 o'clock, and I was just getting ready for bed. And then I heard bang, bang, bang outside my window.
She said she heard 8 shots in total.
She ran to the window, and that's when she saw 2 men running through the apartment complex parking lot.
Detectives are certain one of those men was Tyrone McCoy.
She sees the man with the white bandana fire at Tyrone, shoots him.
Then the shooter ran to an SUV and drove off.
Unfortunately, the witness said it was too dark and she was too far away to make out any identifying information or the license plate.
Well, thank you very much for your time. We'll be in touch if we need any more information.
But as detectives prepare to leave, another young woman approaches them.
Excuse me, are you the police?
Yes, how can we help you?
She tells detectives that she has some information that they may want to know.
My name's Tamara McCoy.
Tamara tells detectives that she is Tyrone McCoy's wife.
She says she lives at one of the units in the apartment complex.
I think I know what might have happened tonight.
That stirred tremendous curiosity from the detectives as to what the real story is.
They were finally about to get some answers in this case.
Police in Albany, New York are investigating the murder of Tyrone McCoy after he was gunned down in an apartment complex parking lot.
The killer stood over Tyrone and shot the final shot into his head. This was cold-blooded murder.
Immediately, investigators are wondering, did someone from Tyrone's criminal past come to hunt him?
But now, an important new witness has just approached police at the scene of the crime. Tyrone's wife, Tamara McCoy.
I think I know what might have happened tonight.
I think at this point that would have stirred tremendous curiosity from the detectives as to what the real story is.
Tamara agrees to accompany the detectives back to the police station to give an official statement.
Sorry again for your loss.
Thank you. Now what can you tell us about Tyrone?
Tamira explains that while she and Tyrone are still legally married, they have been estranged because he's been in prison the last few years on a drug possession charge.
You two didn't get back together once he got out?
No, I wasn't sure if I was ready for that yet.
However, Tamara said that since Tyrone's been out of prison, He's been trying to woo her and win her back.
He keeps buying me presents, taking me out to eat, stuff like that.
Tamara hadn't made up her mind of whether she wanted to be reunited with Tyrone, but she also said she didn't wish him any ill will.
In fact, Tamara says she was doing her best to set Tyrone up for success.
When he got out of prison, she rented a hotel room for him to live in.
It's not that far, really, from where Tamara and her kids live. So he's able to come over and visit her, and things seem to be going okay.
When was the last time you saw Tyrone?
A few hours ago. We went out to eat tonight.
Tamara told police she had gone out to dinner with Tyrone that very night.
He dropped her off and she went upstairs to her apartment. A few minutes later, she heard gunshots.
But Tamara says she didn't realize Tyrone was the target of those gunshots until she heard the buzz around the apartment complex.
When she found out that someone had been shot and that someone was Tyrone McCoy, she was stunned.
That's when I came and I found y'all.
To the detectives, it seems like Tamara is being upfront with them.
She's very cooperative, and she seems very willing to provide information.
She's answering all their questions. She even draws them a map of the apartment complex for them to take a look around.
And that's not all.
She admits there's one person that comes to mind as a potential suspect.
When Tyrone got locked up, I didn't just wait around for him, you know?
While Tyrone was in prison, she moved on, and that included her love life.
I met somebody.
His name was Jamar Johnson.
While Tamara has been living up by herself because Tyrone was in prison, she met Jamar and the two became romantically involved.
I'm afraid he might have something to do with this.
She told the police that she and Jamar had broken up, that they weren't together, and that Jamar was very upset about her ending their relationship.
He still wasn't over her.
And he became furious when he found out that Tyrone was back in Albany and trying to win her back.
The last time I saw him, he told me he was gonna pop Tyrone.
Pop him?
According to Tamara, Jamar had gotten so angry with Tyrone that he was threatening to shoot him.
Now it seems like he may have followed through on his threats.
Police in Albany, New York are interviewing Tamara McCoy, the estranged wife of shooting victim Tyrone McCoy.
Tamara approached police saying that she's Tyrone McCoy's wife and that she might have information about what happened.
And Tamara's just made a shocking accusation.
She was telling them about how, although she was married to Tyrone, she had been seeing a man named Jamar Johnson.
Tamara McCoy has suggested that if anybody had a reason to have shot her husband, maybe Jamar Johnson is that person, because he did make a threat to quote-unquote pop her husband.
He told me he was going to shoot Tyrone.
The investigators agree that Jamar's threat makes him the #1 suspect in Tyrone's murder.
Now, this doesn't place Jamar at the scene or proves he shot Tyrone, but it certainly gives him motive to want Tyrone dead.
He's certainly a person that they want to chat with.
And when detectives run a background check on Jamar, they learn this isn't his first run-in with the law.
Jamar had been in prison for a number of years on drug dealing charges.
But there's no history of violent crime.
Hoping to speak to Jamar, detectives issue an alert to law enforcement in the area.
They put out a bolo advising police officers to be on the lookout for Jamar Johnson.
In the meantime, detectives head back to the apartment complex with Tamara.
She was going to walk them through her and Tyrone's movements that evening. She was going to show them exactly where he dropped her off before he was killed.
Parking lot on Grand Street, South Pearl Street Projects. With me, Detective Kubish. Detective Lieutenant Mayfield. You are Mary McCoy. We're here to discuss the events of November 14th, which was last night, sometime after 10:30 p.m.
As detectives talk with her at the location where her husband was shot, the beginning of her story remained the same.
But then, her story begins to change from what she initially told detectives.
Tamara admits that when she pulled into her parking lot, she saw Jamar.
Then I saw his car sitting right there.
Where did you see his car?
Right across, like, by the bus.
In the parking lot across the street?
In that moment, she knew something was wrong.
Everything all right?
Just stay here, okay? I knew what his intentions were.
Which were what?
To shoot Tyrone McCoy.
Okay.
And I told him, and I said, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Mark, don't.
No, I'm not
don't,
going nowhere.
Don't.
Man, who you?
But according to Tamara, Jamar wouldn't listen.
She stood in front of Tyrone, shielding him with her body.
And I said to him, please, please don't shoot him. Please, please. He put the gun to my head and he said, get the out of my way before I shoot you.
At that point, Tamara says Tyrone stepped in and confronted Jamar.
Shoot, you want to shoot somebody? Shoot me. Do it, you bad? I'm a gangster.
Tyrone McCoy spoke up. He said, you want to shoot me? That's what you came to do? You came to shoot me? Bring it then, because I'm gangster.
Tamara says that's when Jamar started firing.
She saw Jamar chasing Tyrone, shooting at him as he ran.
I heard the shots being fired.
Tamara said she was so scared that she ran inside her apartment and locked the door, and that she didn't come out again until police came that night.
It's a gripping story, but is it the truth?
Why didn't she tell them all of this from the get-go?
Contradictions are a major red flag for law enforcement.
Investigators believe she wasn't being completely honest.
They don't know if this is because she was trying to protect Jamar or she has something to do with what happened.
Now, detectives are more eager than ever to get Jamar's side of the story.
Luckily, a few hours later, detectives got word Jamar was spotted in Albany and he was taken into custody.
However, when detectives sit down to interview Jamar, he ices them out.
When officers first question Jamar Johnson, he's closed off, he has his walls up, and he just isn't willing to tell them anything.
I don't have anything to say to you.
He goes for nothing. He knows nothing. He wasn't there. That's his story, and he's sticking to it.
But the investigators have an idea to break down his walls.
They go talk to Tamara and ask her to go talk to Jamar and tell him to just be honest.
They suggest that she tells him to tell the truth, and she agrees to do it.
When Tamara walked into that room, Jamar's jaw about fell off his face. It was like he saw a ghost.
Tamara, what are you doing here?
You have to tell them what happened, Jamar.
Why? Did you?
Yes.
After Tamara speaks to Jamar, he breaks down and he decides that he's gonna come clean and tell the police everything.
But the detectives aren't ready for the bombshell he's about to drop.
All right. So you want to know the truth?
Jamar, he reveals that, yes, he was in fact the shooter. He did in fact shoot Tyrone.
But he says it wasn't his idea.
Well, then whose idea was it?
It was hers. She set this whole thing up.
He says Tamara was the mastermind behind this entire plot.
New York police investigating the murder of Tyrone McCoy are closing in on the man they believe is responsible for taking his life.
They've identified Jamar Johnson as their primary suspect based on Tamara, Tyrone's estranged wife, telling them that she's been involved in a love triangle with both men.
And I said to him, please, please don't shoot him. He put the gun to my head and he said, get the out of my way before I shoot you.
She saw Jamar chasing Tyrone, shooting at him.
But Jamar has just made a shocking allegation. that will turn the case on its head.
The whole thing wasn't even my idea.
Well then, whose idea was it?
It was hers. She set this whole thing up.
Jamar admits that while he may have been the one that pulled the trigger, none of this would have ever happened if Tamara wasn't pulling the strings.
She told me to kill him.
Jamar also says the motive for the crime wasn't jealousy. It was money.
Jamar says, look, I had no animosity toward Tyrone McCoy.
Once Tyrone got out of prison, he reached out to Tamara and told her that he had recently gotten into some money, $41,000 to be exact.
Was it an inheritance or something?
No. He held some spot up.
Tyrone told Tamara that after he was released from prison in February, he participated in a robbery in New York City, and that's how he got the $41,000.
That's when Tyrone started trying to rebuild his relationship with his wife.
In an attempt to win Tamara back, Tyrone used his money to take her out on dates and buy her expensive gifts.
He was trying to rekindle what they once had.
There was just one problem. Tamara was already falling in love with Jamar.
But even if Tamara had already moved on, there was something she still wanted from her husband.
She wanted his money.
And she soon came up with a way to get it.
She came up with a plan to rob and murder her husband.
And on the night of November 14th, she put her plan into action.
When Tyrone asked Tamara out on a date that night, she agreed to go with him. She knew this was their chance, so she told Jamar to be ready.
And as dinner came to an end, Tamara gave Jamar the signal.
Let me run to the bathroom real quick before we head out.
Okay. Hey, we're about to leave soon. You ready?
She called me from some restaurant. She told me to come to the apartment right now.
Jamar says that when Tamara called from her cell phone that night, it was to tell him that the hit was a go.
Jamar admits he drove to the apartment and laid in wait until Tyrone and Tamara pulled up.
After Tamara got out, he approached the vehicle.
I was already there waiting. I started walking up to him. Tyrone saw me.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry, Tyrone.
Tyrone took off on foot.
Jamar fired the gun several times as he took off after him.
Jamar chased Tyrone around the parking lot, and he eventually hit him in the hip, and Tyrone went down.
Wait. What do you want, man? I got money.
Yeah, I know.
Jamar stood over him and shot him in the head in cold-blooded murder.
What did you do with the gun?
I threw it in the Hudson River.
It's a stunning confession from the man police are now certain took Tyrone's life.
Following Jamar's confession, Albany police charge him with murder and they book him in Albany County Jail.
However, Jamar's confession isn't enough to also charge Tamara for the murder plot.
Detectives are now looking at two people who agree and effectively confess to being at the scene, but they're pointing the fingers at one another. So who, if anyone, is telling the truth?
It's possible Jamar wants to bring Tamara down with him because she ratted on him to the police.
And maybe the story he was telling was payback for her snitching on him.
To get to the truth, the investigators need more evidence.
When police manage to unlock Tyrone's cell phone, they find a clue, which appears to support Jamar's version of events.
They find pictures of a large amount of cash in what appears to be a hotel room.
Investigators note that the photo was taken on November 13th, 2007, just one day before the murder.
That seems to be consistent with what Jamar said about Tyrone coming into a large sum of money not long before his death.
If Jamar is telling the truth, does Tamara have that same cash in her possession now?
Detectives execute a search warrant to Tamara's apartment.
And they find just what they're looking for.
They discovered a large sum of currency, approximately $10,000, between the mattress and box spring.
Detectives can't help but think that this is part of the same cash that Tyrone had photographed.
To confirm their hunch, detectives reach out to the motel where Tyrone had been living and obtain surveillance footage from the hours before the murder.
When the police review the surveillance camera, they strike gold.
Around 7:30 p.m., Tyrone leaves the motel.
A few minutes later, Tamara arrives.
She approaches the front desk and starts talking to the hotel manager. It almost appears as if she's flirting with him.
She was able to manipulate the hotel management into letting her have access to Tyrone's motel room.
The police find Tamara sneaking into Tyrone's room while he's away.
She's in the room for about 5 minutes, and then she leaves. What was she doing in there without Tyrone?
So, in a case like this, I always ask people, who is the bigger risk to society? The mastermind or the person who commits the crime? And I always believe that the mastermind is always the scariest person that could be out in the community. They put the pieces together, they plan it perfectly, and I think that's what makes this case so scary.
In New York, have charged 30-year-old Jamar Johnson with murder after he confessed to shooting his girlfriend's husband, Tyrone McCoy.
He admitted that he did shoot Tyrone, he killed him, and it was in an attempt to take his money.
But they're still looking for evidence that Tyrone's wife, Tamara, was the mastermind behind the crime.
Now detectives think they've just uncovered the evidence they need to connect Tamara to the murder plot.
They were able to obtain the surveillance footage from the hotel where Tyrone was staying.
The surveillance images show Tamara getting into the motel room without Tyrone, suggesting that she was in fact attempting to steal from him.
They believe she robbed him.
When the investigators present their findings to a grand jury, they agree.
The jury decides to indict Tamara on second-degree murder, conspiracy, and manslaughter.
But with only circumstantial evidence tying her to the homicide, this case is going to be anything but easy.
In November 2008, Jamar Johnson is the first of the accused couple to stand trial.
Jamar Johnson is really, presented as this third person in a love triangle. A person whose role in this was both as the person who was the other man and the trigger man.
But in a surprising move, Jamar takes the stand and claims that he never confessed to shooting Tyrone.
He claims the police made it all up.
He denies everything.
Jamar was like blaming everybody else but himself. He said at one point, "I'm no monster, I'm no killer," and he was really portraying the picture of himself as a victim of the judicial system.
However, Jamar's behavior on the stand isn't doing him any favors.
He got a little too casual up there, because while he's testifying, Jamar starts laughing. And that's like throwing a hanging curveball to a prosecutor. They just swing at it. The Albany County prosecutor says to Jamar, "Mr. Johnson, do you find this funny?" And then Jamar says that he does find the whole thing funny.
After the jury retires to deliberate, it's clear the prosecution has hit the home run they were hoping for.
There was little Jamar could say to prove that he wasn't a part of this crime, and so he was found guilty.
But because investigators believe Tamara was the mastermind, Jamar's charges don't meet New York's criteria for first-degree murder.
Jamar was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 28 years to life.
Tamara McCoy stands trial 2 months later in January of 2009.
Unlike Jamar Johnson's trial, I think there was a lot of questions heading into the trial of Tamara McCoy as to, for one, did she do it? And two, will they convict her if she did?
Armed only with circumstantial evidence, prosecutors do their best to build a case that will convince the jury.
Prosecutors intended to prove that if it were not for Tamara McCoy, Tyrone McCoy would still be living.
They argue that after Tamara found out what kind of money Tyrone was sitting on, she was dead set on getting her hands on it.
At first, she lets Tyrone take her out on expensive dinners, giving her gifts, all while she's seeing another man.
But eventually, Tamara wanted more.
She got greedy and decided she wanted all that money to herself.
She decides that she's going to take it by any means necessary.
So she came up with a plan.
On November 14th, 2007, Tamara snuck into Tyrone McCoy's hotel room to steal his money while he was out.
They say that the plan was to steal money, to then cover up the crime with murder, eliminate her husband she doesn't want to be with anymore, and the two of them, Jamar and Tamara, can then live happily ever after.
When Tamara went to dinner with Tyrone later that night, prosecutors allege that she was plotting his demise the entire time.
She is setting up Tyrone McCoy for death at that moment. He doesn't know it. He thinks he's on a date, but he's basically on the last ride of his life.
When they arrived back at Tamara's apartment complex minutes later, Jamar was already waiting for them.
There, Jamar approached Tyrone.
What's this? Tamara.
I'm sorry, Tyrone.
He chased Tyrone through the parking lot.
And he gunned him down.
Wait, man. I got money.
I know.
The lead prosecutor tells the jury this is one of the most premeditated murder cases he has ever tried.
But prosecutors say when the murder was completed, Tamara's clever scheme was far from over.
As much as Jamar thought that he and Tamara were in love, she was just using it.
She then turned on her boyfriend, telling police that Jamar acted all on his own and she knew nothing of the crime.
His name is Jamar Johnson, and I'm afraid he might have something to do with this.
She essentially made Jamar the fall guy.
What are you doing here?
The irony is if she hadn't thrown Jamar under the bus in the first place, maybe they both would have gotten away with it.
She thought that Jamar was infatuated enough with her to continue to be her puppet, but she was wrong.
When he found out that she was throwing him under the bus, all loyalty went out the door.
The jury isn't falling for Tamara's charms either.
The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours, and they found Tamara McCoy guilty on all charges, including second-degree murder and conspiracy.
The judge sentenced her to 25 years to life in prison.
Tamara spends 11 long years behind bars until she's up for parole in 2020.
The parole board opted to release Tamara early.
New York State's parole board, particularly under Governor Cuomo's administration, they began to be very, very light-handed. So the system says, Tamara paid her price to society.
Today, Tamara McCoy is once again a free woman, while Jamar Johnson remains in the custody of the New York State prison system.
He won't be eligible for parole until May of 2036.
One of the most tragic aspects of this case is Tyrone was a man trying to get his life back on track. And he thought that getting back together with his wife would help him do that. But instead, it ended up leading to his demise.
When you take a person's life You deprive that person of what he or she may have been able to do. When a life is lost, that life is lost.
Tyrone McCoy wasn't perfect, but he had friends and family who loved him.
Mother who loved being in front of the camera.
She was very, very photogenic, so she definitely wanted to pursue a career in modeling.
She just was always full of life. She was the life of the party.
So when she suddenly goes missing, it's clear something's wrong.
Everybody is on edge searching for her.
We were on a mission, so we were doing our best. We had flashlights, we had glow sticks.
And the investigation reveals a devastating discovery.
It was hard. My heart broke literally in half because of it.
She's dead. Okay?
He was crying and screaming.
We still didn't have answers. We still needed answers.
And when the answers come, they'll shock even the most seasoned investigators.
She started carrying a gun for protection.
I can't prove it, but just by seeing him and the way he was acting, something's not right. Something's not right.
Right, my family's watching. He told me, know what everybody said.
I think this is a cautionary tale that trust is earned.
Detectives know fear is a powerful motivator.
I didn't know if this was a sign of the things to come, that he was gonna get away with this.
Watch the company that you keep.
March 30th, 2014. It's a Saturday afternoon in Gwinnett County, Georgia, a suburb just 30 miles outside the heart of Atlanta.
People from all over the world come here who are seeking work or employment in and around the Atlanta area.
There's several colleges, there's industry, technology going on here.
For most, today is a day of respite. But for Celia Owens, her weekend has been anything but relaxing.
On Friday evening, Celia agreed to watch the 3-year-old daughter of her friend, Angela Rabate, while Angela was at work.
But Angela never returned to pick up her daughter.
And listen, I'm starting to get really worried. Please, call me back.
She hadn't heard from her, and all of Celia's calls were going straight to voicemail.
Celia starts reaching out to Angela's mother, who lives in Las Vegas.
Hello? Oh, hi, Celia. What's up?
I don't want to sound overdramatic, but I'm really concerned about Angela.
When Celia called me and told me that Angie had not been there to pick up Shay, there was reason to be concerned because she would not have left her daughter without it being known that she wasn't coming back that night. It was so out of the ordinary for her to do that. So it immediately raised red flags.
I need you to go to the police, okay? I'm gonna get the next flight out, and I'll call you as soon as I land, all right?
Something was really wrong. Like, something was wrong.
Known for her beauty and spirited personality, 26-year-old Angela Rabate had the charm and fire to take the world head on.
Angie just was always full of life. She was smiles galore, active, energetic, fun-loving, just wanted to be the life of the party.
Angela was a ball of everything. Like, she was funny. Like, that's what kind of gravitated me towards her. She was always joking, just a fun person to be around.
Angela's good looks and magnetic personality landed her several modeling gigs throughout her 20s.
People gravitated towards Angela. So, like, she did a couple of modeling gigs. She did a lot of print model for magazines. She was very, very photogenic, you know? So, yeah, she definitely wanted to pursue a career in modeling.
She hoped a career in modeling would allow her to travel the world.
She just wanted to have fun and enjoy life. She just wanted to see everything. She loved going to Miami. She loved going to New York. She just wanted to travel.
But more than anything else, Angela's greatest love in life was her daughter.
She's an amazing mom. She showered her with love and wanted her daughter to, you know, have the best upbringing.
She wanted the world for her daughter. Everything was about baby Shay.
However, as much as Angela hoped for a traditional family unit, her relationship with Shay's father wasn't working out.
When I met Angie, she was with her daughter's father, Brian Dunn, and they were kind of like in a rocky spot. I think he didn't like her line of work.
Eventually, they decided to part ways, but they remained in close contact for the sake of their daughter.
When Angela and Brian broke up, it was messy at first. She was really hurt by it because she didn't want to be a single parent and she didn't want to not be with him because she actually loved him. And it took a lot of them, talking and getting past the anger for them to be on a better understanding.
As Angela was trying to move on from the heartbreak, she was met with a blast from the past.
On February 2014, someone she knew from back in the day walked back in her life. That was 29-year-old Charles Outlaw.
They grew up very close as teenagers, but as they grew up as adults, they lost touch.
Charles and Angela found each other on social media and reconnected.
Wow. Where you been, girl?
Oh my God, it's just been so long.
It was almost like no time had passed at all, and they picked right back up where they left off.
Come get a drink with me tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Angie was a beautiful young lady. It was easy to have a crush on her. She was stunning, and she used to tell me, Mom, remember, he always had a crush on me. He still really likes me.
Even though Angela wasn't ready for another relationship, she still enjoyed Charles' company.
Angie did not have a car at the time, so Charles would take her, go get her nails done, go get her hair done.
She sent me a picture of some shoes that he had bought Shay without her even asking him to do it. So like he would do those little things that kind of win her over.
Angela looked at him as somebody she could really depend on, and she was really grateful for that.
But 1 month later, Angela Rabate has disappeared into thin air.
She hasn't returned to pick up her daughter after leaving her with a friend.
It immediately raised red flags.
Something was really wrong.
As Angela's mother catches the next flight from Las Vegas, Angela's friend Celia heads to the Gwinnett County Police Department to report her missing.
So when's the last time you heard from her?
Not since Friday night when she dropped off her daughter. It was around 11 p.m.
Where was she going?
She was working an event.
Celia doesn't have many details, but she does know the venue was a ritzy home in Smyrna, about 10 miles outside of Atlanta.
Celia says Angela was working the party as an exotic dancer.
Angela had recently picked up dancing as a way to provide for her daughter.
She would make hundreds, in fact, thousands in one night. She performed under the stage name Climax and made a name for herself.
Any job where you're working at night in the city in the entertainment industry can be extremely dangerous.
She was getting so much attention because of her beauty and her skill set that she started carrying a gun for protection.
Being a dancer in Atlanta, you're constantly coming into contact with people who are out and about for nefarious reasons.
Did her profession put her in danger that night?
14. 26-year-old Angela Rabate was reconnecting with old friends after weathering a difficult breakup with the father of her daughter.
Angela began spending a lot of time with an old friend from high school named Charles Outlaw.
They started hanging, not tight, but he still was trying to kind of get into the mix. He liked her.
Angela had also picked up a lucrative career as a dancer to help provide for her daughter.
She was working as an exotic dancer, and she was damn good at it.
She would dance at high-end events around Atlanta. One night could net her thousands of dollars.
But now Angela has mysteriously disappeared after going to work at one of those high-end events.
Detectives start to wonder if maybe one of her adoring fans could have gone too far and maybe assaulted Angela or kidnapped her even.
She always has her handgun on her when she's working. She knows how sketchy some guys are out there.
Do you know any of the other girls she works with?
I know Coco. I can give you her number.
That would be helpful. Here.
Just write it down there for us.
After wrapping up their interview with Celia, investigators get in touch with Angela's coworker, Coco Shaw.
I spoke with Coco Shaw over the phone, who told me that she had been at the party with Angela that night.
So it kind of just go over for me what all happened that night that you know of.
Like from the beginning, or?
Yeah, please.
Okay, well, we were booked for a party Friday. We went there when we started the party and everything. It pretty much went good.
Coco says by the end of the night, Angela was starting to lose steam.
The group continued to party, but Coco tells detectives that Angela had a few drinks and needed to lay down.
Hey, hon. You doing all right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just exhausted. It's been a long night.
I asked her if she needed a ride home, but she said she lived in Gwinnett, and she said that some guy was coming from Gwinnett to come get her.
Coco Shaw told me that Angela was in a good mood, that she was laughing, that she was talking to the person on the phone and giving him directions.
Around 5:30 a.m., Angela's ride arrived.
You see her. I'm headed out. All right, girl. Hey, don't forget this. Of course not.
Coco tells investigators that when Angela left that night, she had a lot of cash on her, roughly about $2,000. And she also had a money counter.
That money counter, she took it with her everywhere because she, in her line of work, she wanted to make sure she had her money.
She was acting normal. She was like happy. She was just ready to go home. She was tired.
See ya. Bye.
If anyone knows where Angela is, investigators are betting it's her mystery driver. But who is he?
Angela's friend says his name is Charles Outlaw. Detectives want to speak with Charles immediately.
Investigators quickly track down Charles Outlaw for questioning.
Thanks for coming in on such short notice, Charles. We wanted to talk to you about a missing persons case we're working on.
They inform him that Angela is missing, and by all accounts, he was the last person seen with her.
Oh my God. I hope she's all right.
You don't know where she is right now?
No.
He gave a version of events stating that he did pick her up from the job.
Hey.
Hey, thanks for the ride.
And when did you drop her back off at her apartment?
We actually never even made it back to her place.
He said he had to pick up something from his apartment in Norcross, so he parked the car and went inside while Angela remained in the car.
He was only gone a short time, maybe anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes.
Actually, when I got back to the car, she was gone.
He claims he didn't know where she went, and he told us that he had called her a couple of times after she came up missing.
That didn't concern you? You didn't call the police?
Honestly speaking, man, I thought she left with another guy.
He said that they got into an argument when he picked her up from the party. He was complaining about having to pick her up so late, and that made her angry.
I think it's about time for you to get your own car soon, especially with all that money you're making.
What is that supposed to mean?
She kept saying that there were plenty of guys who would have been happy to give her a ride. He also noticed that she was texting other people.
You know what? I can just get somebody else to pick me up.
Stop. Don't worry about it. Let's just get out of here.
Fine.
First, I'm gonna have to make a pit stop before we get to your place.
But when detectives ask Charles what he was grabbing so late in the night, he hesitates.
What did you need to pick up in Norcross?
I went to go pick up some weed.
Charles reluctantly tells police that he's a small-time drug dealer and he had to pick up some marijuana to drop off for a buyer on the way back.
Not only that, but Charles is currently on parole. He was previously incarcerated on drug charges, so this is not a good look.
Look, I don't want to get in trouble.
Gwinnett County are speaking with Charles Outlaw about the disappearance of his friend, 26-year-old dancer Angela Rabate.
By all accounts, Charles is the last person to see Angela before she vanished.
And Charles has just admitted that on the night of her disappearance, he was working an illegal drug deal.
Charles reluctantly tells police that he's a small-time drug dealer and he had to pick up some marijuana to drop off for a buyer on the way back to Angela's home.
Not only that, but Charles is currently on parole. He was previously incarcerated on drug charges, so this is not a good look.
Look, I don't want to get in trouble.
Listen, Charles, we're not really worried about the drugs right now. We're more focused on Angela's missing person case.
Charles is relieved.
At that point in time, we wanted him to show me where he last saw Angela, and I asked him to take me on the route that he went when he went home that night.
Now that investigators have identified Angela's last known location, the search for her intensifies.
They had started to organize a search party.
It was at 10 o'clock at night, so it was dark. But again, we were on a mission. So, the detective came out. We were doing our best. We had flashlights, we had glow sticks.
The group scours the area late into the night. Sadly, they came up empty-handed.
I told everyone, listen, let's plan on getting back here tomorrow around 11 a.m. where we can use the daylight.
One person has been noticeably absent from the search. Angela's ex, Brian Dunn.
Someone else reached out for him and told him that she was missing. And he didn't have a car, so he was just like, okay, and then by day 2, he was there.
As the search continues, detectives take Brian aside to ask him some questions.
Anytime there's a case where somebody is missing, law enforcement is always going to look at some of the relationships that person has.
So tell us about your relationship with Angela.
Well, we dated for several years, and we have a daughter together.
How's the co-parenting situation?
It's been fine. No problems.
He indicated to me that they had a co-parenting relationship that was positive. He said that they weren't having any issues.
You haven't had any contact with her since Friday?
No. I didn't even know she was missing until today.
He seems genuinely concerned about Angela's disappearance.
I don't feel like he would harm a hair on her head. I think he still was in love with her, despite everything.
Just then, Brian spots Charles.
Hey!
Brian, it's his first time seeing Charles, and he has questions.
Why would you leave her in the car by herself?
Brian, I think, at one point was kind of pinpointing him and trying to say, no way you're going to come here and just leave Andy in the car and then her just disappear.
Man, you don't know me. What? Get the hell out of my face. Bro. Get the hell out of my face.
What?
So they get into arguing, and then Charles goes off of there.
And a physical altercation breaks out between Brian Dunn and Charles Outlaw.
Hey, break it up. Break it up.
I got in the middle of it, and I told both of them, listen, we're here for a purpose, which is to find Angela, and let's not jump to conclusions on what could have happened.
But as officers attempt to part the two men and restrain them, Charles does something unexpected.
He reached one of his hands into a pocket, pulled out what I later found out to be cocaine, and tried to throw the cocaine away.
What the hell's going on over here?
Between his earlier admission about the illegal drug dealing and being caught red-handed with cocaine, police couldn't let this slide.
I think at that point in time, he realized that he was going to go to jail. He tried to run.
But quick on their feet, officers soon get Charles back under control.
Everyone in the search party started to think that I was arresting Charles for Angela's disappearance, and that obviously was not the case. It was for a probation violation.
At this point, they don't have any hard evidence that Charles has lied to police or that he had any involvement in Angela's disappearance.
When I searched Charles's home, there wasn't any evidence inside the home that led us to where Angela was.
For all they know, she could be somewhere out there alive and well.
But as several more days pass without any sign of Angela, concern continues to mount.
Now, if she was still safe and alive, why wouldn't she have turned up by now?
Detectives are becoming increasingly suspicious that something terrible might have happened to Angela.
And on April 3rd, 6 days after Angela was last seen, the call comes into Gwinnett PD that everyone's been dreading.
Flynn?
They found a body.
All right, we'll be right there.
It was no longer a missing person. This was going to be a homicide investigation.
6 days after Angela Rabate vanished from an apartment complex in Gwinnett County, investigators have received the phone call everyone has been dreading.
Local surveyors alert them of a dead body found 20 miles away in Lilburn, Georgia.
Yep, we'll be right there. She's right over there.
The location is on an industrial road that has nothing but businesses. And that particular area was about a 2-acre size lot of nothing but woods.
When investigators see the body, there's no doubt about it. This is Angela.
I had seen so many pictures of her that it was very evident that it was her immediately. We knew that this was going to be a homicide investigation, and it was no longer a missing person.
It's also clear Angela's death was no accident.
There was a gunshot wound to the back left side of her head.
This was a cold-blooded act of execution.
There was other clothing items, some shoes, boots, makeup bag, and a few personal items that were laying around that area.
The money counter that she had been seen with when she left was missing, as was the money that she had.
When the tragic news reaches Angela's loved ones, they're devastated.
Unfortunately, I had to give Angela's mom the news that it was Angela, that we had found her.
I got the phone call, and I was just numb. It was done. It was over. And my baby was gone.
My heart broke literally in half because of it. It just sucks that somebody just take her life like that. She was so young.
As Angela's loved ones continue to grieve, detectives kick the investigation into high gear.
Now that their missing persons investigation has become a homicide, detectives are more determined than ever to figure out exactly what happened to Angela Rabate.
Sergeant Flynn, he was amazing. Like, he was amazing. Like the empathy that he had towards the situation, the case, it was like, okay, we're gonna get to the bottom of it. It felt like he took it personal. So he started, honing in on Charles.
Have them ready for us. We're on our way back.
Investigators sit down with Charles Outlaw at the Gwinnett County Jail, where he's already in custody on the probation violation.
We didn't tell him initially that we found the body.
Regardless, Charles is clearly feeling the heat.
During the interview, Charles comes across as paranoid and agitated. He claims that people are trying to set him up, and even at one point in the interview, he begins banging on the table to get his point across.
I wish there was a weapon, man. I wish I knew that was the guy, man. That's just how really it is, man. You see what I'm saying? Just real talk, man, because I don't need this in my life right now. I'm already locked up for no reason.
Hoping to get Charles to spill what he knows, detectives finally break the tragic news of Angela's death.
The game's changed a little bit here, okay? So I found Angela today. You're dead, okay?
When we told him that we found the body of Angela, Charles Outlaw threw a fit.
Are you all right down there, or you want to sit in the chair? You need to take a minute, you can take a minute.
It's a shocking display of emotion, but it strikes the investigators as disingenuous.
He was crying and screaming, and it was all an act. It was overkill.
After letting Charles's explosion die down, investigators continue the interrogation.
This is your opportunity to say, you're the last person to be seen, so this is your opportunity to clear your name. You understand what I'm saying? I believe I'm just going to exercise my right. You know what I mean? To have an attorney to kind of guide me. You see what I'm saying?
Charles asked for a lawyer and refused to answer any more questions.
That shut the conversation down, but investigators have no doubt in their minds they have the right guy in custody.
Now more convinced than ever that Charles is Angela's killer, investigators start digging for more evidence to prove it.
As they interview more and more of Angela's friends, detectives are eventually put in touch with a guy named Paul Jacobs.
Should you calling me back?
Yeah, this is crazy right now. This is really crazy.
He told me over the phone that he had met Charles the week before, that he didn't really like Charles.
I do not like him. This guy is scary.
Paul says on March 30th, the day after Angela went missing, he came face to face with Charles that afternoon.
He had been at a car wash the day after Angela disappeared, and while he was there, he immediately recognized Charles Outlaw.
He was looking like he had just struck oil on Sunday.
Oh, like he had gone out and bought a bunch of new clothes?
Yeah.
According to Paul, Charles was acting incredibly odd.
Paul noticed that Charles was detailing every part of his car.
This guy, he was uneasy. He was honestly looking around. He wouldn't sit down for nothing for like 45 minutes. They were detailing the hell out of his car. They were doing everything.
Paul Jacobs told me that Charles was very insistent on the employees cleaning the inside of the car, just being overbearing about how he wanted the car cleaned.
Paul said that Charles was also flashing lots of cash, mostly small bills.
He says he was tipping the staff at the car wash tons of money.
This dude took these kids like crazy. It was just something that was so strange, and this dude was in there spending way too much money just by seeing them and to see the way he was acting. Something's not right.
Charles was the last person to be seen with Angela. Now, the following day after she was missing, he was cleaning the car, wearing brand new clothing.
They also have to wonder if the cash he was throwing around could have been Angela's tips from the party on Friday night.
Those were all, red flags for us. Okay, there's something going on here.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
And when investigators file a warrant to search Charles's vehicle, they uncover another unsettling piece of information.
Mr. Outlaw's car. It was a rent-a-car.
Who in their right mind cleans a rental car very well prior to turning it in, knowing the rental car company is going to clean it also or in detail? So that's a very suspicious act to go along with everything else.
They immediately confiscate the car and have it analyzed by their forensics team.
This was the same car that we knew that he had driven Angela in the night that she went missing. We were able to find the gunshot residue on the roof of the car that indicated that a gunshot had gone off inside the car. Although Charles tried to clean the car out and detail it and get rid of any evidence that was in there, he forgot to clean the roof of the car.
It's damning evidence, but investigators are about to get an even bigger slam dunk.
This is Detective Ross.
They received word that Charles's roommate wants to speak with them.
Charles had actually confessed to him that he had killed Angela.
Have zeroed in on Charles Outlaw as the prime suspect in Angela Rabate's murder.
The evidence against him is just piling up at this point. Not only was he the last person to be with Angela before she disappeared, but he was also seen getting his car detailed the day after she went missing. And police found gun residue on the roof of that same vehicle.
But investigators are about to get another slam dunk.
This is Detective Ross.
They received word that Charles's roommate wants to speak with them.
You kidding me?
Charles had actually confessed to him that he had killed Angela.
When detectives sit down with Charles's roommate, Willie Daniels, he doesn't hold back.
So this is real serious.
Willie tells the police that on the night Angela went missing, Charles Outlaw woke him up in the early morning hours to make a confession.
Hey, wake up.
He looked kind of pained, He looked like there's something like wrong, something like seriously wrong, something ain't right at all.
What's going on?
Charles Outlaw told him that he'd had a struggle with Angela, that she had a gun.
His exact words was, feeling a whole girl age attitude about something. It was hard. He had some little gun or something that he made. He said he was kind of wrestling over it and accidentally went off. He was just like, man, I think I'm gonna kill on girl, but this little thing, right?
So that the words he used?
Yeah, he was like, damn, kill, I think I'm killing.
After confessing, Willie says Charles became terrified at the idea of being caught.
I cannot go back to prison, man. I can't.
Willie says that Charles started to panic and he jumped up and started stripping off his clothes, saying that he needed to get rid of the evidence.
And he was just like, man, you know, I gotta take my clothes, I just on my clothes. And he started talking about, he's in the days, you know, he don't know what's going on. So he's real panicking. He's talking to me like, man, I don't know what I'm doing.
Willie says that's when Charles turned on him.
You got my back, right?
Yeah, I got your back.
He threatened Willie that he would have some sort of harm done to him or his family were he to tell law enforcement what Charles Outlaw had confessed to him.
He trying to tell me, like, man, don't say that to nobody, man. Like I told you, he threatened my family. He told me he knows my baby mother, he know where everybody stay at.
Detectives eventually confront Willie and ask if he helped Charles get rid of the body or the murder weapon, but he denies it.
He confronted me like, all that I just told you, that's what he got off his chest. After that, I didn't go digging like, hey, so what did you do with this? What did you do with that? So I was just kind of like, me just knowing that was just enough.
He didn't ask for your help?
He didn't ask my help on nothing.
Willie says he wished he had come forward earlier, but he was afraid of what Charles might do to his family.
With Charles now incarcerated on the drug charges, Willie felt safer giving a statement to police.
And with Willie's statement in tow, investigators believe they have everything they need to charge Charles with Angela's murder.
At this point, Charles Outlaw was then arrested at the jail for the murder of Angela Rabate.
We charged him with murder, felony murder, and concealing the death of a person.
But obtaining justice for Angela Rabate will be easier said than done.
We finally get a court date for August in 2016, and all of a sudden, they declare a mistrial.
In the spring of 2016, Gwinnett County Police have finally charged Charles Outlaw for the murder of 26-year-old single mother Angela Rabate.
I can remember the phone call like it was yesterday when I finally got the call saying that they were charging him. And we were actually on a car trip going to California, and we just pulled over the car and screamed for joy.
On August 15th, 2016, Charles's murder trial begins.
Fast forward, we finally get a court date for August in 2016. The first day of court, we're sitting there and it's hard. It's hard seeing him in court. It's hard knowing that we're about to relive our worst nightmare through all of this.
He came into trial, you know, with the glasses on and, you know, very postured. He had no one. There was no one sitting on his side. There was absolutely not one person there for him at all.
But just as the prosecution is getting started, the trial faces a setback.
They get into testimony, and all of a sudden, they declare a mistrial from something that supposedly had been agreed upon pre-trial.
In this case, it was agreed by both parties that the jury should not hear evidence of Charles Outlaw's prior criminal activity or the reason that he was arrested for having a small amount of drugs on him during the search for Angela. But one of the recordings of Outlaw talking to a detective unfortunately included mention that he had been on probation in the past.
For Angela's loved ones and Gwinnett County law enforcement alike, the mistrial is a crushing blow.
And that was very concerning because a lot of times cases are not retried after a mistrial.
It was devastating to me. I didn't know if this was a sign of the things to come, that he was gonna get away with this. So I'm now wondering, are we even gonna get justice for my baby?
We were worried. We felt like, okay, well, if this happens, what if Angie's life is just gonna go in vain because, like, this man who killed her is out, you know, living his best life.
Matt Akoff was an angel, the DA, because he was like, Judy, we will do whatever we can to get this back on the calendar during this next week.
And Matt makes good on his promise.
Fortunately, we were able to tee it right back up for trial.
They did it. They pulled it off. They got a new jury impaneled and went ahead and proceeded with the trial. We started all over the next week.
The defense described the prosecution's case as a spaghetti prosecution. He claimed that we were just throwing things against the wall to see what would stick. I explained to a jury that this is like when a 2-year-old eats spaghetti and everything sticks to the wall. It all pointed towards Charles Outlaw.
The state accepts that the first part of Charles' story is true, that he and Angela really did get into a fight on the drive back to Gwinnett County.
Charles's own admission is that they got into an argument because he had to drive all the way across the city to get her.
But prosecutors believe there was more to the argument than that.
Charles wanted to be romantically involved with Angela, but she didn't want to have anything to do with him.
After everything that I've done for you, this is how you gonna do me?
I don't owe you anything, Charles.
She was smart. She was resourceful. So if Charles was offering her rides to and from this and that, she would do it. But that didn't mean she was going to be his girlfriend or anything like that.
And he believed she was using him for rides and other things without being willing to grow their relationship.
I'll just get somebody else to give me rides from now on.
When she said there were other guys waiting in line, he snapped.
You were playing with me this whole time, setting me up.
That's not the case, Charles.
Prove.
Prosecutors also concede that Angela may have very well drawn her pistol to protect herself, but they assert that the injury that killed her is not consistent with an accident.
There was just no way that this could have been an accident, not with a press contact type wound on the back of the head.
Instead of seeking help, Charles dumped Angela's body in the nearby town of Lilburn and tried to cover up the crime.
He even participated in the search efforts when he knew all along where he'd hidden her body.
At the end of a week-long trial, the jury retires to deliberate.
I was so nervous. I've never been so nervous in my life.
We just cried and we prayed and we just, hoped that the jury would do the right thing. This is crazy, but when the jury went to deliberate, we seen like 20 yellow butterflies flying around this tree. And I was like, that's Angie. We're gonna get justice.
After several hours of deliberation, the jury returns with their verdict.
The jury finds Charles guilty on all charges.
Charles Outlaw was sentenced to life in prison plus an additional 15 years for hiding her body.
It was what we needed. It was what we needed. We got our justice.
I was thankful that we were able to give Angie the justice that she deserved, and for him to be given life without the possibility of parole. Plus 15 years. That was like icing on the cake.
Yet even with the case finally closed, the pain of losing Angela still lingers on for her loved ones.
Angie was on the verge of getting what she wanted in life, of going for her goals and actually accomplishing them. That she was so close.
I feel like it was a fatal attraction. Charles was infatuated with Angie. When he realized that those feelings weren't reciprocated, he didn't feel valued as a man, and this is what caused him to do that.
As human beings, I think we are inclined to trust people and put our trust into those people that we feel comfortable with. But Charles was not someone that Angela could trust. So I think this is a cautionary tale that trust is earned.
The takeaway from this is watch the company that you keep.
The world lost a beautiful light, someone that would lift you up. She did for me. She was my rock. She was my comfort. And she was the sunshine and the brightness that I don't see anymore.
I want people to know that she was a great mother. She wasn't what her job defined her as. She was doing this for her daughter so she could provide for her child. Angela was amazing.
I've seen, but when she came, she was a force.
She was one of the top guards in Memphis, which, got her a scholarship. And something tells me, turn around. So I would go back to her room, and this time I turn on the lights.
The blood was along the wall, there was blood on the floor, on the bed.
Oh, Gary! Oh, Gary!
Hello, number one.
Peter! Peter!
you're really just left with a lot of questions. What went down here?
Constitution to ensure that you don't get trapped.
Power breeds greed, and it corrupts.
And when they cross the line, believe me, the feds are gonna show up at your door like the boogeyman.
They took our votes.
I am a maverick.
Then lined their pockets.
You stash cash in your freezer?
He went to Jamaica and Hawaii, and both of those were paid for by a city contractor.
There's no way in the world that the 7 or 8 televisions that he bought were political in nature.
He's one of those cats that refused to believe that fat meat was greasy.
This is the story of 3 politicians who were elected to lead, but were consumed by greed. Jesse Jackson Jr., Ray Nagin, and William Jefferson on Celebrity Crime Files.